John, Rebecca Kerr from Australia writes in, and by the way, her Twitter handle is @RebeccaAKerr. She was hoping we could cover how fans and viewers can impact a story, and upon further research we found that consulting producer Ben Edlin of Supernatural has a quote where he says, "Just as fans respond to the material, he hopes that the material also responds to the fans. Like any dialogue, we're in that conversation. It gives us an indication of where the viewer expectation is, and that helps us play tension against the viewer expectation. We want to scare people and surprise them and make them worried, so it tells us where the zeitgeist is moving, so we can do a counter move or move along with it." So to further Rebecca's question, what do you think of fans influencing what is seen on television?
This is a major change in the way television works from the way it has worked in the past, certainly more than 2 decades ago. This is the popular medium. We're dealing with millions of viewers every week. And so with the presence now of the internet, the ability of shows to hear from their viewers, especially their religious viewers, and those are the people they're trying to get to, is much greater than it ever was before. And they really like to get that feedback. I remember many years ago when I worked on the staff of 21 Jump Street, a Stephen Cannell show, we would get occasionally a letter, right, snail mail, sent to us. This is many years ago. We get and we would devour this information. But somebody who cared enough about the show to write to us and tell us what they liked and what they didn't like. And so the show creator and the show staff are very interested in getting that kind of feedback. Now, it also comes from the fact that the audience's story knowledge, story ability is much greater than it ever was before. And keep in mind the great challenge for the staff writers, which is how do they stay ahead of their audience? Right? Because the audience has seen all this before thousands of times. They've seen that genre before thousands of times. So, especially if they're a religious viewer, they are going to spot story moves episodes ahead. And as the staff writer, that is what you are trying to avoid at all costs. So that is the most valuable information you're getting when you get feedback from your audience. Because they're going to tell you things they like about these characters, things they didn't like, moves that you used that they didn't like, and so on, moves that were unbelievable, and so on. It's very valuable. But the most valuable thing about it is it gives the writers ammunition for how to fool the audience. Because those writers will never give the audience what they ask for. I would like you to have the character X do this. That's exactly then what they will not do. Because, again, their key requirement is stay ahead of the audience. And that is very very difficult to do.
So someone like the creator of Sons of Anarchy, I've seen him on Twitter, tweet back and forth with the fans, things like that. So it's good to have a dialogue going, but you're saying don't give them what they want, trick them in a sense, to always keep them on their toes.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what they really love. But you have to do it within the parameters of the show, within who those particular characters are. And this is the great challenge for the staff, because especially as you move past the first season, you get into this problem of extendability. How can we keep telling this story? Walking Dead is a perfect example of this. This is a show about killing zombies. Okay, so the effect of that and the shock of that is over in the first season. So how do we take this story to a new level so that it isn't just a series of beats of zombies attack, we stab them through the eye, and then there's another zombie and we knock their head off, and so on and so forth. That's not story. So this is what the great challenge for the writers are and why the audience can be so helpful, because that is the most advanced people in the audience are the people who will actually take the bother to write to the people on the show.
Going back to your time on 21 Jump Street, so when you would receive a letter like that, how would it be presented? Was there a staff meeting, you'd all get around and read, I think that, you know, Johnny Depp should do this in this scene, or Richard Grieco, whoever. How would you present that to the group? Would you consider it?
In my memory, way it worked was typically the showrunner would get the letter, would read it, and say, hey, we got this letter, you might want to take a look at it. And everybody wanted to take a look at it because these are always fans. I mean, it's not somebody writing in and saying, that was the worst episode you ever did. I mean, it's possible, yes, that they would write that. But usually it's, we love your show, we love what you're doing, I especially love this, and when this happened, and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, that kind of praise, that kind of feedback, just everybody ate that up, because you're writing on these shows, you're writing in a vacuum. I used to talk about going into the story mines every day, because you would work 12 plus hours a day. The hours are atrocious on these shows, because you're trying to generate so much material in such a short period of time. So you were basically in a little cave with the other members of the staff, and all you did was think and talk about those stories with those people. You never see your family if you work on a staff. You know the other staff writers better than you know your family. So that kind of hermetically sealed world, you get stuff from the outside, especially from people who appreciate what you're doing, and it's just like manna from heaven.